The live export industry has agreed to back a Labor policy for an independent animal welfare inspector. It comes after revelations thousands of sheep died from heat stress on a voyage to the Middle East in 2016. Sue Foster is from the group Vets Against Live Exports and has been following the issue. She joins us now from Perth. Sue Foster, welcome. So what do you think about this move by the live exporters?
I think on the surface it appears quite good, but realistically it's a pretty desperate attempt by a group that's trying to get some social licence. Everyone wants to interview me this morning. It's really quite a desperate attempt by the industry now that the Australian public has seen what happens on their ships.
You say it's a desperate attempt, but is it something that's actually welcomed?
No, not really. Our group analysed the science and published this in 2014, and it was very clear that heat stress would be occurring on these ships routinely to the Middle East in summer. So we've known from an academic standpoint that this would happen, and now we have already had an independent observer on a ship. He just happened to be a navigation officer. So we've had our independent observer. We had him right across the Middle East summer of 2017, so from literally May almost through to November of 2017. He actually provided us with the visual evidence that our science was actually correct. So if you like, he's already done that work for the industry. All they're really proposing is to put another observer, an independent observer, on a ship for the Middle East in summer of 2018.
But won't they listen to that observer now and take action based on that?
If they were going to take action, they would take it on the footage they already have from an independent observer. An independent observer will not change how much those sheep suffer and die for this coming Middle Eastern summer. We know what happens last year. We had an independent observer. We have the footage. We have the evidence. We don't actually need another observer. We actually just need to stop this trade to the Middle East in summer.
So what months should that extend from June all the way through to September?
Definitely from June all the way through to September. Ideally, one could argue for May to October, but I think Bail, as well as many other groups, would be very happy if this would stop from June to September.
And what have independent investigations shown about conditions on those ships in terms of temperature and humidity?
The industry's always had good data about what happens on ships, and you have to remember that the industry has known about this for 40 years. They've resisted all calls for independent observers on because they knew exactly what footage we would see if an independent observer went on board. So we got the footage and we know what happens on board, and those sheep will suffer that way this summer. It's just they'll be watched. So it makes no difference to their suffering. It's a bit like standing outside a car with a dog locked inside on a hot day. Fine, I guess we have someone watching it. It doesn't stop the suffering of that dog in the car.
But at least isn't it the case that they're being officially watched now and presumably action will be taken? This is the start of significant action being taken?
I don't think we really need an observer. We know that from really good industry-funded experiments that were published in 2011, that sheep in climate-controlled rooms, so 6 sheep to a room, not 69,000 sheep to a ship, 6 sheep in a room with individual pens given over twice the space that they're given on those ships, with individual access to food and water, will suffer heat stress when the wet bulb temperature exceeds 26 degrees. And we know from looking at the climate data in the Middle East that that happens routinely through the Middle East summer. So the science is there. We have the evidence now in the very horrific footage of both routine voyages and a high mortality incident. We don't need another observer. It's just simply not necessary. We need action.
Yep. So you're saying that the scientific research is there to show that this trade shouldn't operate between June and September. What else are you pushing for then?
Well, it is obvious that the exporters have only offered an independent observer for one summer, 2018, and for summer. Now, we still need an independent observer on every ship at every time of the year, no matter whether it's cattle or sheep, and they still have not offered that. So we now know what happens in heat stress in the Middle Eastern summers, but we don't know what happens on those ships at the rest of the year. Is it acceptable? One would think not, looking at the stocking densities that haven't changed since 1983. But we don't know. And so we still need, for as long as this trade exists, an independent veterinarian on every ship. And Vale are not the only group that have asked for that. The Australian Veterinary Association has consistently asked for that also.
And Sue Foster, you're over in Perth. There was a ship that was headed for the Middle East just in the last couple of weeks, but it was blocked after that story went to air on commercial TV, showing the condition for showing what had happened last year, and that ship was blocked from going just in the last few weeks. Do you know what's happened with that ship now?
That ship is still in Fremantle Port.
Is it still loaded up with sheep?
No, it never was loaded.
Right.
There have been other ships that have been allowed to go during this time period, but not the Awassi Express.
Okay, Sue Foster, thanks so much for talking to us this morning from Perth.
Thank you, Joe.